What's up, everybody? It is a three-peat of Letitia Stauch and trial updates. As we now know, she will not testify. At least that's what she said at this point. I don't think the defense rested. I don't think they officially ended their case in chief unless I missed that. So until they do, she technically could probably change her mind, even though she has a knowing waiver on record, which is enough for her to waive and move on, in this case, to potentially be over for closing arguments on Friday. So we will see. I would be willing to bet. Yeah, Tori said they did not rest. So technically, I think she could still come testify if she really wanted to and change her mind. But it seems like right now she's not because she has waived it. So what I'll say is, I really think it's not going to take long for the jury to come to their conclusion in this case. And I think that was evidenced by the questions they asked to Dr. Lewis at the end of her testimony. And we will get to that today. If you guys haven't already, hit that like button. Make sure you let people know we're hanging out talking about this case. I was able to go on Grizzly True Crime earlier today. Very impromptu. Gisela K was able to get me on, and she was able to adapt because she said, hey, can you come on? I said, I can come on in about 20 minutes for about 15 minutes because I've had appointment after appointment stacked up today. Haven't really had a chance to mentally kind of set in here for this video like I like to do because I've had all these appointments stacked up. But we're here. We're doing it live. So let's get into what else Dr. Lewis had to say at the end of her testimony. All right. Got it pulled up here. So they started out after lunch, the judge with another admonishment to the crowd about phone use. People have told me it was the doctor's son. I don't know that for sure to be true. Could be true, might not. And to me, the judge has had to do that way too much throughout this trial, but he's been pretty patient. Also at the beginning, he forced Dr. Lewis to give the state any documents or notes that she is looking at. And she was like, make sure I must demand that they copy those in color. And the judge is like, ma'am, the state's going to copy them however she wants to copy them. And it seems like there were some notes that she did not turn over. They had some arguments about whether or not the notes that she took in the interview were given. And once again, the DA asked the court to take judicial notice. And this is kind of inappropriate, but whatever at this point. The state asked the judge to take judicial notice that those notes from the video where Letitia Stauch is writing something with her right hand and then writing something with her left hand, those were never turned over. And she's like, oh, I turned them over to you. I turned everything over to you. And he's like, let the record reflect defense counsel and I have looked through everything and we can't find those notes anywhere. Those notes do not exist. So they were able to get the notes, as we always say. I mean, listen, we tell every witness, we tell every client, every party, if you bring notes with you to the deposition or up on the stand, the other side has a right to a copy of those notes. Now, if it's medical records or things they already have, it doesn't matter. But if it's notes that they took about their testimony or notes that they took that they didn't want you to see, you can study those before you get up on the stand, but you can't bring them with you. And if you're going to refresh your recollection or look at those notes, the other side has the absolute right to see those notes. And that's what happened in this case. The defense attorney basically agreed, we don't have all the notes. All right. Then a very interesting part here. Whoops, hit the wrong button there. All right. The very interesting part about the EEG and how we heard all this testimony yesterday about how she wanted it. It was necessary. It probably would have proven this case. But instead, it wasn't funded or the judge didn't allow it or the defense attorneys withdrew their request and it really would have helped her, but she just couldn't get it in this case. Let's listen to their discussion of that now.
Ask you some questions now. Sure. Do you recognize that people that did it 7:35?
I recognize that it was a communication line.
Oh, sorry. I'll play it on normal speed because it is hard to hear her. She's away from the witness stand, away from the microphone. I will give recaps. I will tell you what she said here as they talk, but let's watch a little bit of it together.
An email between you and Mr. Tellini, correct?
To the best of my knowledge.
And does that document accurately reflect that email that you had with regards to the EEG that we talked about yesterday and whether or not you had knowledge that you were withdrawing your request to have an EEG done.
What? She wrote an email to defense counsel telling him to withdraw his request for the EEG after all that yesterday? That makes her look horrible in front of these jurors.
To my mind, it was not simply dropping, they were saying, this is not right.
Dr. Lewis, just answer my question.
I-
Does the document accurately depict the email exchange between you and Mr. Cellini with regards to your knowledge of whether an EEG was withdrawn? Yes or no?
Whether it was, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the word.
Withdrawn, your request for an EEG.
It was not a permanently withdrawn.
Oh, well, I'm not really understanding your question. It's like you told him to withdraw the request for the EEG.
It was saying right now.
No, I'm going to ask you to direct her to answer
Dr.
my
Lewis, the question is simple. Is this an email that you sent to Mr. Tellini?
That actually was not the question, but that tells you how the judge is feeling right now about this doctor's testimony. It's like, doctor, simple question. So when a jury hears that, when a jury hears the judge tell the doctor expert on the stand that this is a simple question that they would just appreciate an answer to, that means she's dancing and the court doesn't like it and the DA doesn't like it. And my guess is the jury doesn't like it.
Yes or no?
Yes, it is
Okay.
sent to him.
All right. Mr. Young?
We move to admit People's Exhibit 735.
No objection. Exhibit 735 will be admitted. Go ahead.
And did you say in that email, go ahead and withdraw the EEG? We'll address it at a later time.
I said, may now, if we could address it later, this did not mean it's not important. It was just organizing in my head as most important. Like, that became less important than something else.
Well, the email speaks for itself, doesn't it? You're dictating in the email why you didn't think it was important at that time.
Well, I'm saying that there are other things have arisen that we should also address.
So why did you yesterday blame?
So did you not think it was important anymore? Well, no, it was important, but there was other things that I thought we should also consider. It's like, yeah, but it was pretty clear yesterday. What they were trying to tell this jury is, oh man, if we only had that EEG or that MRI, we would have the objective proof that she has a severe mental disorder. It's like, no. You withdrew your request probably because you knew it would do the exact opposite of what you're trying to argue here today. You were worried it was going to show absolutely nothing, and that's why you withdrew that.
Blame the attorneys that you didn't know anything about the EEG being withdrawn.
I did not consider this withdrawing it permanently, but simply, I did not wish to fight with the court over, are you getting this, are you not? The court refused to get it, and I say it can be addressed again. I did not think it was a withdrawal.
Listen to my question carefully.
Yes.
Why did you yesterday tell this jury that you never requested to withdraw the EEG, that the attorneys did it, never told you anything about it?
Because I did not request to withdraw it. I said you could kind of wait and do it, and I did not think that they had.
Can I retrieve your document from you, please?
So here's why this is bad. And she just went on for 2 minutes explaining that she didn't think this meant she was actually withdrawing it. She thought there were some other things first and they'd come back to it and the court wouldn't let them. That's how she explained it, right? Which is fine. And if it was an audible or verbal conversation, then fine. Guess what? We don't really know what happened. We don't know what her conversation was with the lawyer. Haha, but documentation is key. And guess what we get to do now? We get to hear what the actual email says, regardless of how she explains it, regardless of how the DA explains it, the jury is going to get to read this email themselves. It is in evidence now. And right now they're going to hear it with their own ears, exactly what she said. He brought the receipts.
This is what you said in your email, and you can explain what it means after I read it, okay? I have been reading more on Letitia, and I think we should drop the EEG request.
Yikes. I have been reading more on Letitia, and I think we should drop the EEG request. Probably meaning it's not going to help us. And when you put things in writing, they become discoverable, as was this.
What does that mean to you?
Rest of it, know the timing of it, and know what I was thinking about at that time that was most important. But this was not something that I was going to put. I can't possibly assist you if you don't have this. I think it.
So what were you thinking? Well, it was kind of like, I don't remember exactly what I was thinking at that exact moment. So it was kind of hard to figure out, did I mean this or did I mean that? It's like, you said you've been reading up on her. And in that context of reading up on her, you decided you don't need the EEG.
I think we should have it, but we can wait.
You can wait now.
In
Now
fact,
she's saying what she said in that email where she said, I've been reading up on Letitia and we don't need the EEG. That really meant you can wait, but we still need it later, which is exactly the opposite of what I said. Jurors are not stupid. They listen to this stuff. They make their own decision. I don't like, somebody said Peter's getting spicy. So I just don't like when, and I've said this in lots of cases that we've watched together, and I've even used it in my closing argument, where I know it might not look like it because it's mirrored, where they're like, members of the jury, this is not my right hand. It's like, yes, it is. That's exactly what your right hand. We all have a right hand. I know what a right hand looks like. That's your right hand. But they try to look at a jury and say, well, we're lawyers and doctors and experts. And let me explain to you why this is actually my right foot. It's on the right side of my body. And sometimes I put it on the ground. It's like, that doesn't make it a foot. I don't like that. I get annoyed when that happens in trials.
it may be, I could be mistaken, but I believe that Mr. Delaney had said to me, there will be appeals on this.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask that be
Your Honor.
Dr. Lewis.
It gets-
I'd like Dr. Lewis, please stop.
Wait.
All right. So anybody that's into body language and stuff like that, his body language right there is going towards the witness, putting his hand up, saying, stop, controlling this witness. Now, in some trials where the witness doesn't, necessarily deserve that, lawyers will be admonished. But in this case, the judge, I felt like, was just annoyed at this witness as the lawyer was. So we're going to watch that one more time. Watch how his body language changes to control this witness appropriately, because she was not listening to anybody.
There will be appeals on this.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask that be.
She said there will be an appeal of this, okay, which is really funny. And somebody asked me about the appeal. You only appeal the case if you lose. And if the state loses, they can't appeal. So is she admitting that the defense is going to lose? Yikes. That's not what I want my expert to say.
Your Honor.
Dr. Lewis,
It gets-
I'd like Dr. Lewis, please stop.
Wait.
She's going into completely inadmissible testimony for somebody that's been doing this for 40 plus years and testified over 100 times. She knows that you're not supposed to talk about appeals. Now, maybe she forgot or whatever, but you're not supposed to talk about appeals like that or extrajudicial things in this jury trial.
One at a time. Dr. Lewis, please confine your answer to the question being asked. Mr. Tellini will have an opportunity to ask you questions on redirect. And if there's anything that he thinks you need to bring up, he can bring it up then. But just confine your answer to the question being asked. And Mr. Young?
Your Honor, I would ask that what she just said be stricken, that the jury be instructed to disregard it.
Mr. Tellini? All right.
Oh my gosh. I forgot that. I didn't catch that the first time around. So he's like, Judge, she needs to strike, or they need to strike what this witness said. And the defense attorney's like, yeah, that's probably appropriate, Judge. You never want, and listen, It's very different than the some witnesses that don't testify a lot, don't understand the rules. They say something they shouldn't have said, and it gets stricken. It happens sometimes. It happens. But when your expert witness who's been doing this for 40 years, who's testified over 100 times, has something she says stricken by the judge and the defense attorney even agrees to it, her credibility is getting smashed. It's getting smashed right now, which you do not want. You do not want it. Tabitha, sometimes there's only one person that says what you want them to say as a defense attorney in this arena right here, and it's your last ditch effort as a defense. So that's why they probably picked her. I don't think they had a slew of experts coming and saying that Letitia Stauch was legally insane at the time of this crime. Welcome, Mama Bear, and everybody else who's new from the Grizzly channel or just from this case. Welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you're instructed to disregard Dr. Lewis's response to Mr. Young's most recent question. Mr. Young?
That's rough. You never want that. You never want that from your expert. All right, let's get to a couple questions here. And then we do have some clips from redirect. So he smashed her credibility. And whenever that happens, it ain't good. And I don't need to tell you that. You don't need to be a lawyer to figure that out. Alley Cat, Peter, I just sent you an email, or I sent you an email about the DID. Did you get it? I did not get it, but I haven't checked that email in a while. The lawyer you know one. I haven't checked it since yesterday, so I'll have to look into it. And then Alley Cat again. SW4x4, do you have a law office affiliate in Seattle, Washington? So no, we don't have an actual office there, but shoot me an email or let me know what the case about. If it's an injury case, we handle it in a lot of different states. If it's a different practice area, then we'll try to find you somebody. I don't have anybody specifically in Seattle for other stuff, but send me an email, lawyeryouknow@gmail.com, and I'll check it out for you. For those of you that are new, I am a real practicing wrongful death, serious injury, car accident lawyer here in Florida and across a bunch of states. So if you ever have a question on cases like that, shoot me an email. Would love to help you out. Heather, finally caught alive. Love your recaps, Peter. Letitia had to feel like she hit the lottery when interviewed by Dr. Lewis. Why was her attorney and son present in the interview? Isn't that inappropriate? So inappropriate is tough, but I think, and we talked about this on the Grizzly channel for a few minutes, I think it's easy to use the defense's cross-examination technique against them when they said, oh, there was a guard there, you were wearing a mask, there was a door in the way. That's not really how you get the best information from somebody in a psychiatric interview or evaluation, but that's exactly what they were doing. And you really don't want to become a witness as a lawyer, which is all that happens when you do that. It's not great. It's not ideal. My Miracle Mama. The defense had many more witnesses listed. Are they resting after Dr. Lewis's because her testimony was so dismal? I don't know that they are resting. I just figured they'd call Letitia Stauch last. And I heard that she said she's not going to testify. So I don't know. Maybe there's more witnesses. I heard the judge earlier say closing arguments are going to be on Friday. So I don't know. We'll see what happens tomorrow, right? I'm in a wedding tomorrow. So if the case didn't end tomorrow, I wouldn't hate that. So I can recap it with you guys on Monday and see if we have a verdict by Monday. But if it does end tomorrow, we'll figure something out this weekend. Dr. Lewis is the expert Letitia Stauch deserves. Tori, I was so hot under the collar yesterday, Peter, during cross. I love that saying, hot under the collar. Did you notice how the defense attorneys kept their head in their hands during cross? They were not happy. I mean, look at right now. He's like this, looking at his computer. It's just, it's the worst feeling ever in trial when your witness is blowing it. This has happened to me before. It's even happened to me with an expert in a criminal case. It is brutal. It's like, what is happening? Why is this going so bad? Everything was fine when we talked before. Sue, I'm heading to the Springs tomorrow for closing arguments. I will report back. Sue, can't wait to hear what the feeling is like in the courtroom. Valerie, the judge should strike all this testimony. No, it doesn't rise to that level. And there are constitutional protections for criminal defendants accused of a crime. You want to make sure you don't take their only witness away. The jury heard it. The jury heard it in all of its glory, and they get to make the final decision as to how much credibility they give to it. Tom, Peter, received the Lawyer You Know tie-dye. It's embroidered. Class act and attention to detail, just like Team Tragos. Yeah, we loved that when we heard that. I was talking to John about it actually recently. I ordered mine, the tie-dye one, and I haven't gotten it yet. So I'm really excited to get that. Which tie-dye color did you get, Tom? Was it the darker one, the lighter one? They have all sorts of colors on the spectrum of it. I think I got the light one, like yellow, but I really like the black and purple one. I thought was really cool too. And I've had a bunch of like my friends, I'm like, dude, this is sweet. This one is sweet. And when your friends are doing it in real life that don't even watch the channel or sending it, it's got to be pretty cool. So thanks, Tom. And thanks for all the support, bud. Azam, this is not my right hand since Amber. Yes, I use the same analogy because that's what I felt like she was trying to do to us. Shaylin, enjoying your coverage as always. Just curious if you will ever cover the Cherie Howard trial in St. Pete when it starts. I don't know much about it. I know it's here in St. Pete. I'll have to look into it, especially when it's upcoming and the trial's about to start. So maybe if you can keep me posted and keep me on track to look at it when it comes, that would help. We've got so many trials going on right now. I'm trying to keep up with that. I don't have anything in my head about that one. Leslie Ann, it became almost insulting how Dr. Lewis seems to assume that her theory should just be accepted. I mean, she didn't even have any argument, and we're going to get to redirect where it just even gets even wackier. I would take throwing out common sense in general to accept. It would take throwing out common sense in general to accept that LT couldn't possibly be lying. I agree with you there. All right, let's listen to a little bit of redirect where, I mean, what they have to do on redirect, again, just makes them such a good witness, or makes Dr. Lewis such a good witness for the state. So let's listen to it here together.
For the court on February 12th. In that report, you put down the need you thought for both an MRI and an EEG, correct?
So he's trying to rehab that situation because it came off horribly when she got impeached that actually she said they should withdraw the request.
And you recall in relation to this court, the issue being that this court would not give us any more time to get those things done. Be relating that to you.
I'm going
What I
to
heard was that the court refused.
This was actually his second attempt at getting out something that he relayed to her, which is inappropriate because the counsel can't testify and it's hearsay. And there's all sorts of objections with this. And they did object and the judge did sustain it. But the jury did hear that the lawyer told the expert that the judge was not allowing them to do certain things or giving them the time necessary to do these things. Thank you to everybody sending super stickers. It's fun, man. You guys are making this fun. As horrible of a case as this is, at least we don't have to hear a lot about the facts, but instead about how this doctor just kind of blew it. And I actually think some grisly facts are coming up here. So I'm going to jump up just about a minute to when they start talking about the legal definition of insanity.
Somebody trying to say, does that make any rational sense whatsoever? If the definition of insanity in Colorado is that a person is incapable of distinguishing right from wrong with respect to an act.
Did you guys catch that? Because we're going to listen to it one more time. Is the insanity definition in Colorado, and then he reads it. You want to know why he has to do this? Because she didn't know it, because she didn't testify to it, because they needed an evidence, because he's got to rehabilitate her and redirect. And this is an important part.
Of this insanity. If the definition of insanity in Colorado is that a person is incapable of distinguishing right from wrong with respect to an act, would that change your opinion on Ms. Stauch being legally insane at the time of Gannon's death? That last.
I think she said no. I couldn't really hear her, but I hope for the defense sake she said no. So he reads her the definition and says, now that you know the definition, basically, does that change your opinion that she was legally insane at the time of the crime? And she says no. And that's so important because if they didn't have that, they don't have an argument. They don't have a defense. Dr. Lewis is their defense. Somebody else posted, I don't think Dr. Lewis is an expert anybody should have, and I don't disagree with you there. And I'm glad you're fully focused today, Azam. But yeah, I mean, it's just whenever you have to read a definition and a standard to your expert, who is supposed to be the expert on that standard, it's not going well. And then a little bit later, I think it's coming up here. Let's see if it comes up here.
Last part that we were there, the interview, that was the last kind of part of a long 3 days of interviewing Ms. Stauch. Correct? Had I expressed my frustration that she wouldn't account for taking Gannon to Florida, or she wouldn't account for the stab wounds?
Objection on calls for speculation as to what Mr. Sweeney was thinking.
Had I expressed that to you?
He said
Again, he's trying to get in his testimony, which you can't do. It's hearsay. Counsel can't testify. What's going on?
expressed, so I think,
Well, then it's hearsay.
well, can't repeat what Mr. Delaney has said, but maybe you should move to your next question, and I can see where you're going.
On myself, same type of theory or anything like that. You were aware that those videotapes were all going to be turned over to the district attorney.
Yeah, here's his, just if you're making these arguments, it's not going well. I don't know if you've seen the memes, like the lawyer with the pants that don't fit. So I was like, if your lawyer's wearing these pants, you're going to jail. If you're making these arguments, you're losing. And I'm going to let him go through it. I don't know how long it is, but we'll listen to it real quick and then I'll explain what I mean.
You're also aware that I have had years plus of confidential communications with Ms. Stauch. Are you aware of that?
So you're aware that these interviews are videotaped and that I've had hundreds of conversations with Ms. Stauch that are confidential where no one's around.
I've seen it.
He's building up to something.
And if I was going to do something unethical, as they seem to be implying, wouldn't it make, I would have just been able to do that confidentially instead of on an open video.
I'm going to object to that form of question.
Sustained.
Again, objection sustained. It's like, dude, what are you doing? He's basically like, if I wanted to doctor up a story and tell Letitia Stauch what to say, I could have done it in the privacy of our confidential conversations. It would be really stupid of me to do it in an interview I knew was taped that the state was going to listen to. It's like, so you're going to put that thought in the jury's head that that's something that could have actually happened. Again, that's a point I would have just left and not tried to hit every single point. Okay, I'm going to answer a few more questions here, and then we're going to finish with some of the jury questions at the end of the day for Dr. Lewis. And I'm going to shout out the guy, Zach DuPont, who posted them, which was awesome and gives us some good context. All right, let's run through these questions. So Valerie, the answer to that is yes. We are going to get to those juror questions here right before the video ends. Carla, what do you think about the doctor's son being present for the forensic interview? I think it's weird, but it does seem like she has some physical ailments and he helps with that. So I'm going to assume and give her the benefit of the doubt as that's why. Evangeline Light, got my water bottle and love it. Thanks, Peter and lawyer, you know. I have John, my media guy's water bottle right here. This One Media. Shout to This One Media, his brand. SW 4x4 Explorers. Explain again. They cannot appeal if who wins or who loses. So the state can't appeal and retry this case because of double jeopardy. You can't retry the same person twice for a crime if they lose and it's a not guilty by reason of insanity. Dr. Lewis is profound in the psychiatric community. I wish she could articulate her knowledge. She made valid points, but you have to understand DID to understand her possibly short-term memory loss. I said it a million times and people disagreed with me. I think she's probably brilliant. She has as good of a resume as you could ever have. This testimony did not go well. Regardless of how much she knows, there's a reason only certain people can be expert witnesses. They have to be able to articulate that and explain it to a jury, and I do not think she did a good job of that in this trial. Leather Apron. Would you rather have Dr. Lewis as your expert or Daryl Brooks as your attorney? Stop. Beth, welcome. Welcome to all the new members. That's been fun to see all the new members come in right in the beginning of May, right before we do our members only May video. All right, let's get to those jury questions here. All right, here we go. Trying to situate all my windows here. Let's make this bigger. All right, question number 1. In what way, and these are coming from the jurors to Dr. Lewis, in what way would Stauch giving Gannon enemas impact her relationship with him? Dr. Lewis's answer: the enemas, especially performed regularly on a child, can be a form of child molestation or sexual assault. However, Lewis cautioned that this claim from Stauch may not be true. Question 2. Did the number of cases drop at Bellevue, the hospital Lewis used to work at, after Lewis's dissociative identity disorder opened? Dr. Lewis said there was no actual research conducted on this as far as she knows, but she would bet money that the answer is yes. Question 3. How do you determine if someone is faking or exaggerating their mental illness or not? Answer: Lewis gave a very long-winded answer to this, but essentially she said a couple times in trial about this that you have to look how someone acts in an interview and look at evidence of it existing outside the interview and things like past writings. Question 4. Did you perform any tests to help determine if Stauch was faking or exaggerating DID? Answer: yes. That's actually what she said. So my guess is she didn't expand on that. She didn't say, yes, I did this and it proved she wasn't exaggerating, or yes, I did this and it proves she actually did have DID. She just said yes, apparently. Question 5. Earlier, you said people with DID are more susceptible, and this is the big question for me. They're more susceptible to believe what people say to them. Then why do you openly talk about potential theories and explanations in front of the defendant during the interview? I will tell you right now, whatever juror this is has probably made up their mind that Letitia Stauch is guilty, and Dr. Lewis was trying to help her come up with some alternative theory. This right here, question 5. I don't know if I make it smaller here, if it goes smaller on your screen. Yes, let's focus in here on question 5. And I don't even care what her answer is. This juror gave us exactly what they're thinking. And this jury is thinking. They're asking questions. That's the other thing why I think is good about asking questions. If you've ever been in a class where they encourage, like, hey, not that this is a class, but I try to encourage interaction, questions, getting responses from you, getting answers from you, soliciting questions from you. Because I feel like people pay attention more. They're more engaged. They're more in the moment here, paying attention to what we're talking about. And allowing the jury to ask questions, I think, makes them more engaged, more focused, because they know if something doesn't add up, they're not just going to wait for 6 weeks and try to talk about it with the other jurors. No, they get to ask right here. So why would you talk about potential theories? And what was her answer? A long-winded answer that Zach didn't fully understand, that can be described as, it's often good to run theories and questions by defendants to see their responses, even if their answers can't necessarily be trusted, as the response can still inform on sanity. Here's another good one. If the EEG and MRI weren't provided, how can you issue a final sanity report? Another great question. And why does the EEG or the MRI, why do they seem so important? Why would the jury ever pick up that we may need an EEG or an MRI? Well, because the good Dr. Lewis said they are incredibly important, and she wishes she had them, and she has refused to testify or come to a final conclusion in other cases because she did not have everything she needed, like an EEG and an MRI. But in this case, Lewis said that basically she can still conduct the sanity exam with interviews and background research and be confident in her findings, but that the EEG and MRI would have just potentially helped prove her findings. So I will tell you that when she says that she did the interview and relied on other things in her research, why did she not then consider that everybody in her family, her husband, ex-husband, kids, coworkers, bosses that we've heard testify, none of them thought that she had DID. None of them thought she had a mental health disorder. So he missed the last jury question, but hey, give it up to Zach for at least giving us this. Go give him a follow, give him a shout, tell him thank you for posting the jury questions, because it was really helpful in our discussion to know what this jury is thinking. We have 6,800 people in the chat. Again, breaking our own Letitia Stauch record with no court going on today and with the Grizzly crew in here. So hit that like button, please, if you haven't already. I'm going to answer a few questions, and then we're going to hop it over and redirect the stream to update on what's been going on with Lori Vallow. So if you've been watching that trial or interested in it, similarly miserable in the facts, but we will hit that here in a few minutes. Rosemary, thank you for the super sticker. Tiffany, for some reason, I thought you were allowed to lead experts, but they are objecting. Is that state by state? Usually you're not allowed to lead anybody on direct examination. Eleanor, how will the jury instruction read? Not guilty due to insanity, not guilty by reason of insanity. What's the other side? Just guilty. Yes. That she was saying. I haven't heard how they're going to actually instruct it. Nancy, was Dr. Lewis given a list of LS's Google searches? They were very calculating. She was given hundreds of pages in reports and statements. I mean, I didn't hear everything she read, but it seems like she reviewed a heck of a lot. Let's go, Brandon. I have a great question. Why have 7,000 people not hit the like button? Are you not entertained? A Gators fan? Seriously. But even Gators fans should hit the like button, right? Your quarterback was drafted 4th overall. I wish he would have stayed an extra year, played us one more time. Crazy Cat Queen. Wearing my What's Up Everybody Milky Way t-shirt to Ricardo's for German night tonight. Have a great time tomorrow. Stay safe, my friend. Thank you, Crazy Cat Queen. That shirt's cool. I like that shirt. Bark and Mad. The way Dr. Lewis answered questions reminded me of AH. 99% was disagreeing with the lawyer, and when she agreed with something, she just had to rephrase it in her own words instead of just saying yes. Yeah, that's never a good way to come off as a witness. Nicole Mobley. Thanks, Peter. R.I.P. Gannon. Absolutely. And the judge said that today or yesterday. Like, let's not forget about what this case is about. A beautiful young kid lost his life, and now somebody's facing life in prison. Maggie May and Irene joining the rest of the crew here. And Azam sending us out on a super sticker. Turn on whatever you got to turn on to come over and talk Lori Vallow's case with us. Thank you so much, everybody that joined. Hit that subscribe button. We're pushing towards 250K. We're almost at 225K. You might be the 225,000th subscriber. And what's up, Regina Brown? Give us a follow also on Twitter. Yes, Justice for Gannon. Debbie Blair. Justice for Gannon. We're big fans of justice here on this channel. At Tragos Law on Twitter. When we hit 20K, I'm going to give away some merchandise like this shirt. I might even sign it if somebody wants that. But yeah, give us a follow on Twitter, on Instagram. Give Zach a follow on Twitter and subscribe to us on here. Thank you guys so much. And if you want to know a little bit more about what I do as a real job or where else you can get a hold of me, stick around for the outro. Thanks for watching another episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the thumbs up and share with your friends who may be interested here on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok at Tragos Law is our handle. And don't forget to listen to the Lawyer You Know podcast featuring new episodes every week. If you have a case you want to talk to us about, if it's a personal injury case, wrongful death, catastrophic injury, car accident, or slip and fall case, please email us at lawyeryouknow@gmail.com. And of course, all these links I just mentioned are included in the description below on this episode and every episode. So until next time, this is Peter Tragos, the Lawyer You Know. All right, real quick, I'm going to hit this question. What's going on with Sarah Boone? We are still waiting for a new trial date, but when it comes, we will be there. All right, I'll catch you on the read.